All right, so now we're recording the LoopBack maintenance call for the 9th of December 2021. All right, welcome everybody to this monthly call. I believe there are some maintainers that will be joining later, so we'll see how it goes, but we'll get started first. All right, so I think the first thing maybe we can just quickly discuss what we're working on the project right now. Right, so what's the status of our task that we've assigned ourselves? Um, I guess since I'm the one asking the question, I can start first. So I have been mainly working on the CI/CD stuff. It does take quite a bit of time. There's a lot of quirks to iron out, especially with each database they have, engine. They have their own quirks and problems. So that does take a bit of time. We're making progress. It's slow progress, but we're making progress. And I think recently I have bumped the environments to use the latest Node.js 17 and also uh, increase the LTS, the baseline version to Node.js 16. So that we're making progress on that. All of this is being tracked on the Cicd loopback repo as issues. So if you want, you can view it there, check the progress. And yeah, so that would be for the CI/CD. Another thing I'm working on, I just recently opened a PR on this, is actually enhancing the support for the API Connect extension package. So this package has been in experimental for a very long time. Not much updates have been added to it. So initially, it only did the bare minimum to like allow you to import the API spec into API Connect, like just the bare minimum of extensions needed. So I've actually extended that to encompass pretty much the entire set of Open API extensions. I think Diana has dropped some remarks on it, but if anyone else who's familiar with API Connect, who's more familiar with it, I think it'd be great if you can review it because I'm not familiar with the product. I've essentially just copy and pasted from the documentation, and I do have some things that needs to be clarified. So that will be for the API Connect. And the final thing I want to continue on is actually the Prisma. That one I've been stalling for some time because Prisma is the ORM and it's part of our efforts to increase the number of ORMs that we're supporting. Because right now it's just Juggler and Type ORM. Prisma is the new thing on the block, so something we want to support. There were certain like roadblocks that needed to solve with Prisma specifically. Uh, I think it surrounded like what kind of queries you could run. Documentation wasn't really clear on that, and there was also like some problems because Prisma actually doesn't follow Semver. Sorry, not Semver. Doesn't follow module LTS in the sense that if they drop a version of Node.js, it isn't considered a breaking change. So that caused some problems as well. And and yeah, I think that's about it from my end really. So what about you? Yeah, man.
Okay. I really haven't anything when it comes to development. I just want to share that Rifa has decided to kindly host meetings using his own personal account. So this move is to make Loopback truly more community oriented. So earlier I used to host it using our IBM account. So Rifa will be hosting it. I think it's at least a good move towards making Loopback truly owned by the community. I'll be giving Rifa access to the YouTube account as well, so that Rifa can upload the videos on our YouTube channel.
Right, great. Yeah, I think just small steps at a time. We are slowly opening up the access to the technical steering committee, those outside of IBM, and really emphasizes that Loopback isn't like just an IBM product. It isn't like an entry point to API Connect or whatnot. Even though I just talked about contributing a package for API Connect, but yeah, but I think Loopback does thrive a lot on community support, and it really is mostly unpaid work. Because for us, it's things that we want to work on, things that we want to support because we believe in the project. And I think these steps that we can take, I think mostly driven by IBM, right? Because none of this would have been possible without IBM. So I can only thank IBM for helping the way for LoopBack being a truly distributed distributed and open governance model. Yeah. So so hopefully we can wrap up the OpenGIS Foundation stuff. So
Yeah.
we can start going into the agenda now. So OpenGIS, last I've heard from Diana is that there are the OpenGIS Foundation still needs to do some necessary things from their end. So we're waiting on them to provide the necessary documents for IBM to handle, right? So there's that. Is there any updates on that from your end as well? Anything I missed?
I am not aware of any significant updates.
Okay.
And very likely, I don't think it's going to happen till the new year.
Yeah, it's really a very. I guess this is the worst time to do it, right? Between the holidays, and gives everyone's crunch. Okay, so OpenGIS Foundation. Hopefully, we can settle it at some point. Mailing list. Okay, so this one I think, just like most open source communities, we kind of lean towards Slack. But I think mailing list is still an important asset, especially for managing security notifications or announcements, right? Because we don't want people to be forced to create an account with a proprietary service, whether it's Slack or some other service.
Right.
So I think I'm wondering, currently who's I believe the announcement mailing list is restricted to be posted by only some people, right? So I'm wondering who has ownership over the announcement mailing list, and if we can open it up in the technical steering committee so that we can relieve the burden, and then anyone can cross-post any announcements, just like the Slack.
Yep.
Yeah. So who would? Did you have any idea who would have ownership of that mailing list?
Yeah. Maybe Diana is the right person to ask.
Okay, so hopefully Diana can join later on. I can clarify that. Okay, yeah, and there are. I have a suggestion to perhaps include a dedicated security mailing list, right? There is an announcement mailing list, but I do want that to be more active, like the general channel, and then have a dedicated one just for security. So those who really only care about the security, they will be able to see that. And I think it would help show that LoopBack is a serious project with proper processes and proper infrastructure to manage security incidents. And we want to help our users with being in the know-how of all the security problems. Because I think right now, security problems we post to I think right now what we do is that we actually post it to we update our website, and I think there is a CVE generated.
Yes.
I remember last time it was the CNA or the authority that was issuing the CVE was IBM, but I think for future CVEs we should be shifting to something like GitHub. Because I think they can also issue CVEs as well.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, CVEs, the website, I think a dedicated security mailing list would be quite helpful there. Because people just need to subscribe, right? And mail is quite universal. Okay, so yeah, so that's it for the mailing list. Project management. Okay, so since we shifted to a open governance model, the idea of the sprints done internally by the Strong Loop and IBM team didn't carry over. I think the main reason we did that was because we were unsure if such a rigid such a rigid model is going to fit, right? Like for a distributed maintenance model, like what we're doing now. Um, but I think this doesn't provide transparency to our users because the users don't know what to expect as a feature. They don't know what's prioritized. And it does become quite frustrating when we do things halfway and then something else more important takes over and then the other things gonna get left behind, right? Because in the end, we ourselves are not fully aligned with knowing like exactly what each of us are doing. So I'm wondering if we could create like monthly sprints or like create some GitHub labels. So for the next release, it's gonna be December release, right? December 2021, and then January 2022, and so on and so forth. So if we are able to add those labels, not only will it help our users, it also help us in knowing like keeping track of each other's work, right? Like, oh, have we made any progress? If not, maybe I can take over. Maybe we can reprioritize. So maybe that's something we should be doing. What do you think, Yapa?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Hmm. Yeah. So, so do you think that they will fit our maintenance model, or do you think maybe it'll be a bit too rigid and with some adjusting?
Um, I really don't have any strong opinions about that.
Right. I guess we can run maybe we can run a vote on it with the other run through the other maintainers with the maintainer Slack
Yeah.
and get their opinions on it. I think it doesn't hurt to have it. Like it's a it's a great indicator of motivation. Like, oh yes, this is what I'm gonna focus on this month. This is what I'm gonna do, right? I
Yeah.
think it might be quite helpful. Okay, so that's for project management. The Strong Loop and LoopBack website updates. I believe there were some issues with the Strong Loop website. Uh, I think there's still is some issues with it, and I wasn't able to solve it. The LoopBack website itself is still fine because that's under the LoopBack IO organization. Um, but because I don't have admin access to the Strong Loop GitHub org, so I'm not able to troubleshoot this myself either. Uh,
Okay.
is there any updates on that matter? Is Diana still pursuing it?
I think Diana is still pursuing. I'm not aware of any progress.
Okay. Um, um, because that kind of goes on the next point. Do we want to migrate the blogs specifically for Loopback over to the Loopback IO website? Because my understanding is that they both use the same Jenkins, not Jenkins, sorry. They use the same um, Jekyll, right, engine.
Jacqueline, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
should be
yeah.
easy enough to transfer the blocks. Fingers crossed. So I'm wondering if we should do that, so that it doesn't have to our blog post doesn't have to rely on the strong loop website being up.
Right. It's maintaining one is easier than two, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah, and um, from what I know, it won't be very easy because under the hood there's some templating, some stuff going on.
Mm,
So also will need a little bit of effort.
yeah, uh, I'll need to see how much effort as well. I am not like the most fluent in Ruby or Jekyll, but I do hope we can like piece something together. I'm just wondering if it's a good idea to transfer it to Loopback, right?
Yeah.
Like,
If we all decide that we'll transfer it to loopback, then I can definitely take a look at the amount of effort required.
okay, if you can do that, that would be really great, actually.
Yeah.
If you want, can contact me as well. I would love to see where I can help on that because I think the blogs are also quite important in the
Yep.
process. Okay, so next point, security updates. Right, so there are uh, continuing the topic of making LoopBack a secure framework in the sense of like managing the whole application lifecycle, the whole supply chain of software, right? Um, there are certain things, certain suggestions of things I would like to suggest to adopt, right? First of all, it's the best practices badge. And I'm not too sure if you're familiar with it. It's like the silver and the gold best practices criteria, part of the Linux Foundation core infrastructure initiative. So those ones we essentially have to just take some questionnaires, and then we need to sometimes you need to put a rationale for it, and then that way you have like a checklist to show that yes, we follow best practices in our project. I
Yeah.
have already started creating this badge. I've not completed it yet. You should be able to find it on their website, but I think we can start working on it again, and maybe you can formally track this on the I don't know, maybe the governance page or a CICD repo. Yeah, so that's one of the things we're going to adopt is the badge. The second thing is the Open Ssf All-Star GitHub app. Now, it's a rather so it's a rather interesting name for for what it is, but essentially it's also another Linux Foundation project. So this essentially allows us to like enforce certain best practices for like repo management. So like
Okay.
there's proper protected branches. There's and certain safe configurations are done. I think that's something we should be adopting, perhaps, because like what it does is essentially we just put a configuration file, and then if it sees any problems, it will either create like a GitHub issue, or it will notify us to a back channel, depending how we configure it. But I think it might be helpful.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Share the link.
Yeah, it's on the Slack as a it's in the Slack maintainers. Yeah.
Where is it?
The so under the thread for the maintainers call that I sent.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So that's the agenda I'm referring to. So yeah, you can see what it does. See what benefits, what good propositions it has. And I do want to run it through the maintainers or the technical steering committee members, see if we can adopt it. Because honestly, I've used it myself for my repos. I think it's quite helpful, especially managing multiple repos. It becomes quite difficult. It's also adopted by Google for their repos as well. So I think it may be good for us to do it as well. One thing that isn't included here, before I go on to the next point, is actually Fossa. I don't know if you've heard it before, right? It's the license scanning tool. It is available for free for open source projects. And what it allows us to do is actually generate a report like, is our license compatible? And then it can, through that, I think it can provide assurance to our users that they're not breaking open source licenses without them having to go through the hoops of actually getting their own tools. I think the OpenJS Foundation also recommends it. It's free to create an account. I don't know if should we run it through the other TSC members as well before I create an account with it, or should I just go and create an account and then can try it out? Yeah, so I don't know about that. Do you think we should run it through the other TSC members first? Yeah, okay. So I'll run it through the other TSC members. So the next point is the Open Ssf OSS vulnerability guide. So I mean, right now it's handled effectively by IBM, right? Vulnerability management. I believe that the latest vulnerability was a while back was with the MongoDB driver. That one, uh, I believe one of the TSC members outside of IBM was involved. Can't remember who. I think it was more. It was more this, right? He was he was looked into the email conversation. But I think one thing we should do is actually standardize the process. Because right now, I don't know what that process is. Maybe internally in IBM, there's already a playbook. But I think the Open Ssf has actually generously provided this guide. It will be quite helpful in like understanding how we should be taking care of security report and how to handle them properly. So that's something we should probably incorporate.
Yep.
All right. So final point from my end is the digital public goods. So this was posted in the TSC chat in Slack, not the maintenance chat. But I don't think this was anything yet. Yeah. So this was actually raised by someone on Twitter who wanted to nominate LoopBack as a digital public good. So I think I can run down first what digital public goods is. So there's this thing called the Digital Public Goods Alliance, or DPGA. It is I don't know if sponsor is the correct word, but it is supported by GitHub, by UN, and by several other companies. And the idea is that they want to allow this process where we can nominate open source projects that actually help fulfill one of the UN's criteria, right? So I think they have like UN has 17 different focus points, and LoopBack may be able to fit into one of them as an open source project. So we may be able to nominate LoopBack for that, and perhaps we can get that as a unique point of LoopBack, right? It's a truly open source project that enables people to build solutions on top of it in a very extensible way. Because based on what I'm seeing, the other projects that have been nominated, it's more like very specific, like it's already turning complete. It's not like a developer's tool, but I think it doesn't hurt to try. So yeah, maybe that one can work with the other TSC members to see if we can draft something up for the submission. Yeah. So what do you think about it?
Excellent idea. All the points that you have put out are really, really great. If we can implement even half of them, we would be really, really cool.
Yeah. So those things, yeah, those things just need to run through the other maintainers. Okay. I do have one more thing that's not on this list. Thing was mentioned on the last call. It was just a suggestion, like said in the passing, which was about like doing some kind of like live stream, similar to what some open source projects do.
Yeah.
I mentioned Node-RED was one thing. They do a weekly or bi-weekly live stream where one of the maintainers just live streams themselves working on the project. And I think it's great to show the community like we're doing something. This is how we work, and it creates this it creates this connection with the community, which I think might be helpful. So I'm wondering, and any from the last call, any objections thus far? Like, do you have any concerns?
I really don't see anything as long as the focus is on the screen and the person who's working on it.
Yeah,
I think that would be a good idea.
I think that'd be a great idea. Okay, so yeah, so you think so I guess I can work with you on that to maybe kickstart something out of that. Just see how it goes.
Okay, so what's your suggestion? How do we go about it?
Yeah, so maybe one suggestion is that, well, I mean, it was my idea, so I think I should be the burden of doing it first, right?
You're going to be the subject, of course.
um, yeah, I don't know what I mean, I think like no commitments, nothing, just uh, say like just when be one of these weeks, I,
Mm.
one of us tries to just try out the
Yeah.
concept, right, of live streaming, working
So, what tools do you recommend using? YouTube Live?
on tools. What I would recommend.
Mm.
There are many tools. For me, I think OBS is good enough.
Oh, which one?
OBS, OBS project. So
Never heard about it.
it's actually a rather popular tool because it's like the definitive open source streaming and recording tool. Let me see if I can.
Cool, cool.
Let's see if I can add to the chat. Okay, so I send it in the chat. So
Yeah.
that's my suggestion. Yeah, so I was just thinking, maybe
Yeah.
I can work with you over Slack DM. We can agree on something, and then maybe I can
Mm.
try to.
Looks good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Great.
I think if you should share on the channel when you're planning to go online, so people can, at least from the channel, can tune in.
Like the advanced thing, like what
Right.
DM developer does, right? Like one
Yeah.
week from now, live stream coming soon, kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's something we should do. Plan in advance. Uh,
Yep.
Wait. Uh, let's see here. Okay. I don't know if Diana is gonna be joining. I
Mm.
would love her to join if she can. It'd be great to get her input on some of these matters. Yeah. Uh, so X. Okay, it's not in the agenda. I did DM you about this. It's about Express. Uh,
Mm.
One of the things I mentioned was about the type definitions. So I was curious
Right.
about why it wasn't there, and then a discussion about it. So because it kind of hurt my ears a bit, because do you see that like cross maintenance between Express and Loopback?
Mm.
You think because it seems to him that we wanna kind of like support each other in a way. We think that some of the loopback maintainers should also try to contribute to Express and to help the project since we use it.
Yeah. Um, from the discussion that I remember with Express, they were very much open to anyone improving the TypeScript support.
Right?
So, and the reason we wanted to do that is because we wanted to leverage the good quality TypeScript support in Express.
Right.
But I'm currently we have to consider how much of a priority the thing is because there are other aspects of loopback which is very far removed from Express.
Oh, that yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
so we don't work that frequently on the level which is directly interfacing with Express. So
Hmm.
maybe I think we should discuss with the rest of the steering committee members to prioritize this.
Yeah, because I'm just maybe just throwing it out there, right? Like
Yeah.
if from open source project to open source project, would Express prefer? I mean, I'm sure they prefer. Would it be suitable for the loopback maintainers to at least incrementally help Express in some way? Because I think you mentioned before, it's mainly held by one individual at the moment, right? But there are other maintainers, but it's one that's mainly driving Express. So
Yeah.
if Express
Yeah.
doesn't need
So
support,
if
yeah,
yeah, um, we have to see what are the tasks Express needs help and on and like how open they are to people's contribution, and people's contributions are usually easier. It's the problem comes when we make progress with it, you know, when actually you try to land stuff, that's when things get delayed, sometimes never like gets landed.
because you always ask them to improve on it, but then comes this slow process, right?
Yeah,
Or they just drop the PR altogether because
yeah,
it becomes a bit too cumbersome. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm just wondering, as maintainers of another open source project, we are more familiar, we're more attuned to that kind of development workflow. Right? So uh, if there are those things that we could help support,
Mm.
would Express be open to that kind of cross collaboration?
I'm sure 100%. Why not?
Okay, yeah, like if there's small things that just kind of piled up in the backlog because there's uh, not enough manpower, then maybe we could help also. Yeah,
Yeah.
just wondering if you could help kickstart that in some way, like
Yes.
the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that one I guess we can discuss later more in the Slack. I I do hope
Right.
I do hope that we can get um, some quick feedback on that, along with all the other things that we want to do. Yeah. Uh, is okay. I think there's one more thing. I keep saying one more thing. I keep always regret it. See my words on it. But I think last maintenance call, I also did throw around the idea of like working groups, in the sense that separate from the maintenance call itself, we have specialized calls that are shorter and more specialized towards certain topics, right? Like, oh, we're gonna do an improvement, we're gonna do improvement with integration with API gateways, whether it's AWS, IBM, or whatever other solution out there, right? Uh, you, I guess we haven't really decided on that yet, but I think from the last time we mentioned it, the people who have been in the call last month really generally positive about it. Uh, I'm wondering if there are any qualms, like any concerns now after a month of contemplation.
It, my idea is that it's a really great idea. The thing is availability. How available will be the members?
Yes, that's a good question. To no fault of anyone involved, right? 'Cause I think uh, we all have our own things to deal with,
Right.
our own day jobs as well.
Yeah.
So but I think I'm wondering if the dynamic helps, right? Short but more frequent, but short specialized calls that helps push things forward a bit faster.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh, I think it's something which can definitely happen, and it would be something incredible. For that, something has to be changed. You know, we should be getting more members to join Express, and if that happens, then I think the idea you're suggesting would be incredible.
yeah,
Once it gets rolling, you know, it'll attract more developers.
yeah. So for that, I guess we should open the floor to anyone who wants to contribute. Actually, that's a bit jumping the gun, maybe. I don't know. Should we be opening it to everyone or anyone who wants to join? Like, you just opening it to the floor so that we can hear more diverse perspectives.
Absolutely. We should open it to the floor. Everyone is welcome.
All right. So I think, yeah, I guess that's something new to add on, right? Like, let's
Right.
perhaps consider opening working groups to people who actually use the project in that way, right?
Yeah.
And
Right. And then, yeah, the whole public is, they can ask us like, what's up? What's going on there? You know, a face-to-face interaction is way better than posting a question on Slack and then waiting when is the answer coming. Sometimes never. So they can interact with the developers
Yeah.
on video.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm just wondering what would be like a good working group to start first, right? Like a GraphQL working group. Because the
Maybe
GraphQL
it could
integration.
just generic. If we make it specific to something, then probably attendance will be limited. But
Mhm.
if it's generic, then we can talk about anything, whoever is working on whatever.
So you want it, so it's not just a working group. So instead of just a new, so it's not, so that's kind of different from a working group. What we're suggesting is more like open to like a community call kind of thing.
Yeah. So my thought is that we probably we should start with something very very generic,
Yeah.
absolutely generic, get momentum. Then we can think about specializing something,
Yeah.
because if we cannot gain momentum in a very generic call, then I don't think, I'm not very positive about that being a success in a very specific area.
Yeah. I think that's a great thing you mentioned about starting off generic. I think it'd be very helpful in gauging what the audience wants, and then I mean you can still stay generic. That's still fine too if
Mm.
if we kind of get a consensus, as long as it's sustainable in its form, whatever it is. I think it'd be great. And
Yep.
instead of like
Right.
creating just the maintainers call where we talk with the maintainers, we also talk with new people.
Right.
I think that would be
Yep.
great. I think there's some open source communities also do this, right? I know Cloud Foundry, they have a community call. Anyone in the community can come in, show off their projects,
Mm.
uh, show off demos or whatever. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen, but either way, it's still great. And I
Yep.
think for that call, what we can do is actually be more specialized. We can talk more about the community, like how's the community health like, right? So
Right.
that one can be also like a monthly call also.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah,
uh, and the kind of meeting that you were suggesting, I think that would be possible if we have more maintainers, a significant amount of maintainers.
that
So
yeah,
yeah, with the current active maintenance we have, I think it might be a little difficult.
yeah. So it's just stretching things thinner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Diana's gonna join. That's
All right.
great. Yes. Oh, hi, Diana.
It's muted still.
So
Purifier.
Hello.
hello.
Yep.
Glad you were able to join.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was our turn for at 11 and but then it got delayed and so it's like yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so I've been discussing with Yapa on a few things on the agenda. Uh, I think I can just quickly run them down again very quickly. Uh, so the agenda is in the thread for underneath that one. So you've seen it, right?
Yep,
Uh,
yep, yep.
yeah. Okay. So OpenJS Foundation updates. Nothing beyond what's been posted on the OpenJS Slack. That's why, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm still trying to see how we can navigate that path and then to see how we can make some progress over there.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Mailing lists. I'm thinking about this
Oh, right.
a while back. Do you know who has ownership of the mailing list, particularly the announcements?
Y- That's the Google group, right?
Yeah, the Google group.
I think before Microsoft leave or before David leave, I can't remember. He did give me access. I need to find out if I do have the access. Yeah, that's something I owe. Yeah, I need this on my to do.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah, and then my suggestion was also to add a dedicated security mailing list, because currently we do have posting on our website and we do issue CVEs. I understand that the process for issuing CVEs is still underneath IBM as the CNA. So like, see who's issuing the CVE is under IBM. I think
Mhm.
I think we can shift to GitHub for that, right? Because they also can
Yep.
issue CVEs for us. But I think the dedicated mailing list for security is great because other projects do that as well. It's very low traffic, and you don't have to force people to browse to our website, check for CVEs, or use Slack, right? It's just
Okay.
yeah.
So for the I think we sort of talked about it for the announcement mailing list. I think it has been very, very lightly used. I don't know how many announcements
It's
we
been
have
not
made so
used
far.
at all for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So I wonder um if there's a use of it. I can definitely see that like not everyone is on Slack, so like for whatever announcement we made on Slack, we should make it available somewhere. And um, I the mailing list could be one way, or I don't know if there's other ways that we can make it make people like make it easier for people um to get the information. Um,
Yeah. I think mailing lists are like a very safe option because a lot of projects do this, and everyone has email. Almost everyone has email, right? You don't need to
okay.
you don't need to create an account. You don't need to log in. You don't need a Google account to actually subscribe to the mailing list. So I think it's generally it's a very open way for us to post any updates, right? So that
Okay, sure, sure.
so we don't have to.
Okay, so I guess the next to do is for me to figure out the Google group thing.
Yeah. Hopefully, not too much strain on you.
I need to think through different things because yeah, so yeah.
Hopefully, it's not too much of a juggle with between LoopBack and the API Connect stuff. Uh, any updates on the Strong Loop website? From
The Strong Loop website, so some time ago, like it was giving, I think it mentioned, I can remember the error. So when I run it locally, it doesn't come up. And so like that's why I put in the fix to exclude the vendor attributes, and it works. It comes up locally. But then it doesn't work on the website as well. Like even though I switch to the GitHub page, not rely on the strongloop.com, just in case there's some routing problem. But it seems like it's a separate problem. So I haven't got a chance to look into it. Someone I think submitted a PR about like the broken link, and then so I asked him that like originally the link is coming from the strongloop.com, and that he mentioned he's gonna take a look at it because he has some Jekyll experience. So I can follow up on that, and yeah, so I still need to have some time to think. Yeah, if he doesn't respond, then I probably need some time
okay, yeah,
to take a look. Yeah.
okay, that's great. Yeah, and then the other point I put is should we potentially migrate the blog post to LoopBack IO? Because I understand both of them use Jekyll. I don't know how difficult it is to migrate from one Jekyll to another. Because I'm sure there's a lot of custom templating going on. Um, But I think I discussed it with Yapa. It's something to potentially do so that we don't have to maintain two different websites. I don't know if from your end, other than the blog posting part, is there any other purpose for the Strongly website? So yeah, just wondering if there will be a better suggestion in the long run.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think we do talked about the moving or at least copying the blog post to the LoopBack IO. Yeah, again, I don't know what is the work involved to get that working. Um, I know there are some like front matter added at each of the blog posts, and so in order to get that populate properly, I don't know. I guess someone probably needs to try out like copy one blog post and then to see how it works in the loopback.io. It might work magically, or it might work. It might have a lot. It might take some more work to get it working. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, right.
So should we open GitHub issues to track those? Otherwise, like,
Might get lost.
yeah.
Okay. I guess technically it falls under CI/CD in a way, because GitHub Pages is CI in a way. I guess I can open an issue there, because I'm not too sure it fits under governance, but yeah, I'll try to see. I'll open an issue there.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, including the migrating, well, or the copying of the blog post, because there are people, because they're existing sites, so I don't want to remove the blog post, like move it over to the LoopBack tower, but also keep, like, rather than keeping like both sites available, ideally.
Okay. So I guess I mean maybe solution, if you're able to figure out, is to create a redirect from strong loop to LoopBack, right? For the blog post, if that's possible.
Ah, I see. That works too. Yeah, that works too.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah, because my point is not to remove the blog post from strongloop.com, because there might be other references that point to those, right? Like some external references point to those. So so that's why, like, either we copy or there's a redirect and whatever that works. Yeah.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I think that, I mean, of course, I think keeping links, grandfathering links are very important. I don't want to break them. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, we should tread with care with that. But yeah, I think it's something we need to fix at some point. Uh, okay, CI/CD updates, same as usual. Databases, so many different databases, very difficult. Because I'm not familiar with all the different databases, how to use them. DB2, DB, MS SQL becomes a bit more difficult now that it involves containers, because now, like, oh, you have to wait for it to start up. You need to do some magic around that. Uh, if anyone can help me on that, that would be great. But if not, that's fine as well. Uh, of course, normal CI/CD maintenance stuff like updating to support Node.js 17, push the other baseline versions to Node.js 16. We've done that for most of the repos already. Security updates.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking on those. I
Yeah,
know
I
there are a
mean,
lot of repos to update.
we should somehow automate it, but I'm too tired. I don't have the time to figure out how to write an automation for that. Uh, yeah, and I don't want to write an automation and then people after me come look at it like, how am I supposed to use this? I think we want to make it as simple as possible. Security updates. Okay, not really security updates, more security suggestions. I don't know if you're familiar, the CII best practices badge. So a bunch of open source projects use that. Essentially, it's a bunch of questions that we have to answer yes, no, or whatever. And then maybe we have to add a description as well. The idea is to create a checklist to make sure to kind of give us a grade of like how secure our development process is in a way. So that can provide confidence to our users. I have already started creating the badge for LoopBack. I have not completed it. So if you go to the website, you may be able to search for LoopBack. You can see incomplete incomplete badge. Yeah, so that's one of the things I want to adopt. If you have any like suggestions for what we should answer for some of the questions, that would be great. Any questions on that?
I think that's a good idea. So what do we need to do in order to get a completion?
So
Oh, I saw them.
yeah, so that's a questionnaire we need to fill out. I don't know if I can. I'm wondering if I can give you access to it.
I see there's a form in here. I don't know if I put it in the WebEx chat.
Are you looking at the loopback one?
Yes.
Oh yeah. So I think I can share my screen also. Oh, I can't. I just installed WebEx. I haven't restarted WebEx to allow screen access on the Mac.
Okay. Don't worry. I can let me share.
Okay.
Let me check. I can. So let's
All right.
see. So this is the one. So I think I go to the website that you link,
Mhm.
and then search for loopback, and then I go and then I see this. And so I'm wondering, like, and then I saw there's some like 6/8. So is it something that we need to do,
Yeah. So
or
if you
is it the one that you mentioned that we is not 100% complete because of the question mark ones?
yeah. So those that like are not complete, those ones I would like your input on it. Just like some of them involves like questions like secure development knowledge. The project must have at least one primary developer who knows how to design secure software. Uh, I don't know if that includes me. I don't know if anyone else is more qualified on that. But these kind of questions, like I may not have the full picture. So if you can review it, it'd be great to get your feedback on it, so that we can complete it, put it on our README, and then show that yes, we are following what Linux Foundation considers best practice.
Okay, sure. So which README?
Um, Probably the look back next README. Like
I see.
I put
Okay.
that there, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So this one we can review in the Slack. Like we can discuss more in detail over Slack if you want. Uh, Next point, okay, another thing is adoption of Open Ssf All-Star GitHub app. So I discussed with Yappa just now. The All-Star GitHub app, Open Ssf is also a Linux Foundation initiative. It's actually what the CII one just before was merged under. So actually, technically, CII doesn't really exist anymore. It's not OpenSSF. The All-Star GitHub app essentially allows us to audit certain like configurations of our repos and ensure that we have certain like safe and secure configurations, like having protected branches, requiring PR reviews or something like that. So I think it might be great so that we can get alerts, like because there's so many repos to check, we can't check them manually. Sometimes we make mistakes that we didn't know. So this might be helpful in enforcing and informing us if we breach any secure configuration. So it is a Git
Okay.
app, so I don't know what's the process for like allowing us to enable another GitHub app.
I think it's just the like go to the settings and do that, right?
Yeah,
I think it should be, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like in terms of like governance sense, we vote on it as a technical steering committee. Okay, we post on the TSC chat like, okay, let's vote. Should we enable this? Should we not enable this? Like, should we run through that process of like?
Yeah, I think that would be good. Because I just see it this for the first time, so maybe I probably need some time
Okay,
to read up a little bit on that too.
sure. Yeah. Another another GitHub app that not a GitHub app, another project, another tool I'm thinking of enabling. It's also suggested by the OpenJS Foundation. It's called Fossa. It's not on the list of my agenda. I think, let's see if I have a link. So Fossa is a license scanning tool. It allows us to so it essentially allows us to scan our open source project, look for any license incompatibilities, and it can generate some reports for us. So it allows us to give assurance to users that they're not breaking open source license agreements without them having to get their own tools and infrastructure to manage that. So it might be helpful to get that as well. Since it's also supported by the since it's also acknowledged by the OpenJS Foundation, I think it's a good thing to enable perhaps. What do you think?
Yeah, I think in general, if we're able to um, like show to the users that's like we are mm, we first we care about security, and then also we like, have some level of confidence that we'll be able to address the security vulnerability. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
For the links that you send out, I probably need to take a look at it as well, and then probably share with the rest of the well, you put that on the channel as well. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So a lot
so
of things.
so uh,
Yeah. Yep. Sorry.
so I wonder, like, say for example, we probably won't be able to do it all at the same time, right? So
Yes.
I'm thinking like step by step, like for the best practice batch, is it like any dependencies on that? Like, should we get the best practice? Should we go for the best practice batch first, and then so that like after we are able to adopt that, then probably when we go to the all-star GitHub app, that probably is there's not much thing left to do, or like
I
what
think
would be the delta in order to get to one after the other?
I think we can like doesn't have to be in any order. Now these are like hard dependencies on each other. I would think that the best practices does have some overlap with like some of the things like the license scanning, perhaps with Fossa. I don't know if it's a question in the best practices batch, but I wouldn't be surprised. Um, but yeah, I think the easiest ones to do first would be maybe to see if we can get a vote on, so like Fossa, then the All-Star, and then we can work on the CII best practices batch. Yeah. So like
Okay.
do the implementation before the auditing, right?
Hmm.
That's a sort of thing. Okay, so next point, we have potential incorporation of Open Ssf again, OSS vulnerability guide. So Open Ssf actually very kindly provided this vulnerability guide. They explain like what we should be doing as maintainers, what we should be doing as maintainers to um, ensure that vulnerability reports are properly managed, right? And how to ensure it's managed properly, and announce it safely so that people can update quickly. They also provide the pros and cons behind certain things uh, and whatnot. I understand that perhaps IBM currently has some internal processes for handling this with LoopBack, some reminiscence from when it was under IBM. I'm wondering, because now that we're involving people outside of IBM, we should provide a clear document use based off this vulnerability guide, and maybe merge it with a bit of the internal vulnerability guide if there's any with IBM for how it did so for LoopBack beforehand. Because I think
Hmm.
now it's
Okay.
not really set in stone like how we're supposed to do things for vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the past is like um, the the person will email us rather than open it. Well, we ask people to open it, write an email instead of like open a GitHub issue, and then we'll take a look, and then and if there's anything that's the person wants to share, and like we can create a private repo. So say they have a and LoopBack app that can reproduce the problem, then we can open a private repo to like share that, and then there's some like we can use that to track any of the outstanding conversation. So yeah, I think that will be good that we can like take a look at what we have, and like for the link that you send out, the what is the process, and see how we can make it formalize it.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Final point in terms of like formal agenda, digital public goods. I, I think I've said my piece on the matter in that I think it's a good idea that we should be able to nominate you back. I think it's a bit it's a bit of a more unusual nomination for LoopBack because what I'm seeing is that most of the nominations are more like turning complete solutions that specifically solve a problem for end users, not necessarily like LoopBack, which is a developer product. Right? But I think it still can check the boxes. I think I would like to discuss it with the other TSC members more thoroughly, like filling out the form and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay, that will be good because I think someone tagged Raymond in a tweet, and so and then Raymond include me, and then so that's why like I haven't got a chance to like fully understand what does that mean, and then what is the implication, or what is the work in order for us to get to it. Yeah, thanks for taking a look at that too.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I do hope that we can perhaps get the nomination in, because like no harm, no foul to at least try nominate LoopBack as one of those things that may help being another standing point for LoopBack as a project, because it's truly open governance, open source. And surprisingly, in the OpenJS ecosystem, that's the Node.js ecosystem. Sorry, it's actually not many projects maintain the distributed model like LoopBack. So this might be a great opportunity to showcase that. Okay, one more thing. So I actually started this I said this at the very start of the conversation with Yapa. I was discussing what we were doing, like for what we're working on LoopBack, so that we can get an understanding of what each other are doing. So I've mentioned that I was actually working on a few things. One was the CIA stuff. I do want to kickstart the Prisma stuff again. I did have some troubles because there's some confusing things, and Prisma suddenly dropped Node.js 10 without a breaking change. So that's that was that also. But I think I do want to bring support for that. Another thing I'm working on that you already saw, it was improving the API Connect extension. I have some confusions with the documentation from IBM's documentation on it. So I would love to see if you can help me clarify on some of those.
Sure. Yeah. I probably I'm not too familiar with like what is the spec for those, and so I probably need to dig around. And what I normally try is like, for example, you mentioned the XIBM configuration attribute, and so that's why I try. Oh, if I make it uppercase, does it work? And then so it doesn't work, and so that's why I better mention it just in case you go any further, and or like so I normally that's what I do to to try out, but I can see if I can find any more definition on what is the spec for particular properties.
If you know like a way to test it out, that'd be great, because I'm not too sure how to actually test it, because I've been digging through like through the documentation, trying to figure out like which one's the API manager and whatnot. And then it got a bit, it kind of went into this deep end of like, I figured out there's actually two different versions of the API Connect manager. One is the community edition, and then there's the other one that's like a binary. So I'm not too sure like how do you test this out?
So in my new role, or like starting at the beginning of the year, we are putting API Connect. Well, it's for the cloud offering for API Connect, and so I have like access to, like, I can create stacks that can host API Connect instance, and but this, like, for you to create one is not free. So but for me it's free. So
okay,
so I think it might be a little bit hard.
So no end-to-end testing for LoopBack on that, right?
Yeah, unless you so unless you purchase an instance, then it's pretty easy to get to run end to end. But otherwise, yeah.
as if I had sales connection with, if I had an sales connection with IBM, maybe I don't really. But yeah, if you have, if you're able to help test those out, I think it'd be great. Because as I said, I don't really have access to those tools. Uh, but if you're able to provide your insights on it, like, oh, certain things were not correct, because like I made certain assumptions because sometimes the documentation, I mean, it's a large documentation, but sometimes it does conflict with itself. Sometimes some things are missing, so it becomes a bit of a guessing game.
I see. Sure. Yeah, I can see if I can find any other documentation that I can share, or I can review your PR and then so that I can put in there as well.
Okay, that'd be great. So any new things from your end, like anything you're working on LoopBack specifically?
Not really. I've been quite busy with my day day job. So one thing I would really hope to get to is like you said, the OpenJS Foundation, like the agreements that we will be able to do the transfer, because like without that we won't be able to get the email address, and then like all the code of conduct and all those things we cannot, what we don't have a new value to put, like no new email address to put on. So that's something that I would really hope to see if we can make some progress before the holidays. And the other one I will follow up on the strongloop.com. I will see if there's any update from the person who said he's gonna take a look. If not, then that's something that I need to. I really wants to get that as well.
Right. Okay. So yeah, the OpenJS Foundation would love to see the progress on that. So I'm guessing this one's more of a Linux Foundation thing for them to handle, right? It's not actually a document generated by OpenJS themselves.
I don't know, to be honest, like who the responsibility, how they divided the responsibility, but we have a contact person, and so I'm trying to get some response from that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I do hope it makes progress. And I do hope we
Yeah.
can get it done by before the mid Christmas time.
Yeah, me too.
But it is a tight schedule. But fingers crossed. Okay, yeah, I think that's really all for me. Generally, my focus is more on the security aspect of things. Um, I do still have the PR open on the ORM. I don't know if what has been your involvement with the ORM, like how much code, how familiar you are with the ORM. So I'm still writing the type definitions. Because I do have some difficulty with it. I mentioned it before because like it follows very old programming paradigms, which includes a lot of class mutations, which makes it quite difficult to figure things out. But if either you or someone else on the maintainers team could help review it, like maybe I missed something really important that's maybe obvious, then that would be great. So we can at least modernize Juggler, because I think that's the main problem right now, is that Juggler itself is a very black box and it's very hard for us to troubleshoot anything because a lot of the logic is in Juggler, right? So
I may not know enough to do a full review, but I can certainly take a look. I remember some time ago when we were talking about like modernizing the juggler, there are a few things that we want to get to. I think one is about the moving it to the ES6 class or something like that.
okay, so moving away.
I need to
So kind of moving.
probably
Sorry.
no, I need to find that out as well. So
Yeah.
if I find it, I will share the link.
Okay, that'd be
If you,
good.
there are two issues in particular I remember.
I remember there was like a spike,
Example.
right? It was like a few things, ES6 classes, TypeScript, some other stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those are things I'm looking into.
Oh, okay. This is one of them. I can share it in the channel so that it preserves.
Okay.
There's another one I probably need to find out. It's part of the Juggler Refactor Epic. Maybe not. That one is closed. Oh, I see. The other one is about the using the async await.
Oh, right. That one, yeah, that one we need to look into. I guess that's like a second priority. The first one is to actually work with what we have right now and then get the definitions up, modernizing without breaking or adding new features right now, right? I think that's the first point. It's gonna be a slow process, no doubt, but it has been a slow process. But hopefully we can get over that hurdle so we can get it done and over with. And I had something else in mind. There was one more thing. It was let's see here. Let's see. Best practices. Okay. Oh yeah. So there's two more things. Okay, so I discussed with Yapa. I was thinking that's one of the things that kind of got left behind when we shifted to this distributed maintenance model was the sprints, right? On this because I think one of the reasons I'm guessing is because we weren't sure if it's going to fit because that would require tight knit coordination between everyone, which is not really possible if it's outside of a team, let alone outside of the company, right? But I think maybe we should. I was discussing with Yapa just now that maybe we should at least provide like monthly labels, like oh this is going in for our December release or for our January 2022 release. That way, we give more transparency to our users on what features is going to come in and when they're going to come in. But not only that, it will also help us because we get to see each other's work and we get to keep track of like what we're working on, so we don't lose sight of that, right? So I think that's something we could potentially use, right?
I wonder if because I understand like the how we work is a little bit different right now because before we have full-time employees to work on this project, right? And now it's more of like a part-time thing. And I wonder like so I think what you mentioned is like we put together something that like what's happening, right? And then like what are the work that is in progress, and then I don't know if we can like from there we can invite more people to join forces in some of the items that we're working on, and I like from like I'm thinking about like a two-way kind of thing, right? Like for example, if we can like among the maintainers, we can sort of put together something that these are the things that we're working on from the maintainers side of things. I wonder if there's something that we can make it a two-way that like say someone is working on something and like is there something that we can bring more visibility to their work as well. There are probably some PRs that is going on that we can like put together a list, but then like there might be something people working behind the scene or something like that. So I don't know what's the best way for that to do that. Or maybe as a start, we do like as the maintainers and these are the things that is we know of. This is what's happening. And if someone has other things that is going on, then feel free to add to that we like for the blog. I don't think we allow comments, so otherwise we can allow people to add comment to that too. So
yeah,
it's just a thought, yeah.
Yeah, I think I think those are interesting ideas. Something that we could consider. Because I'm not too familiar with. I don't have that much as experience as you in doing project management. So I think perhaps your perspectives on this would be quite valuable. Uh, the Yeah, because I'm just thinking maybe for a start we just like provide more transparency to our users, and then we provide more clarity for ourselves on like what we're working on, and probably update the roadmap, because I did post in the maintainers chat that someone asked about the roadmap. It wasn't updated for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of slipped through. But I think the roadmap is useful because it helps us provide a grand vision what we're going to do this year, right? So so like as a maintainer, I can say look at that list and say, okay, maybe I can focus on these issues because it's related to what we're targeting for this year, for this quarter. And yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can do it in a two separate things. Like one is like for the roadmap is like we can say oh, these are the things that we would like to see to happen, or like let's say for example, I don't know if that's true, and then say, oh, GraphQL is something that we would like to see more involvement in that, and then oh, here are the things that we would like to see, and then we can see what other people wants to, like if anyone wants to contribute. I think that's more on the roadmap level. It is like more forward looking, and then saying that okay, in 2022, here are the things that we would like to get to, and then some of the maintainers might be contributing in one of the areas or a few of the areas, and then we welcome any contributions like for other contributors to contribute as well. And then there's another bucket is like what's happening, right? So for example, the work that you've been doing to try to improve the GitHub actions for CI, and then so this is something happening, right? And so we can definitely put it as, oh, this is one of the roadmap items that we want to get to improve that overall, like in this year. But then maybe for the monthly basis, and we can sort of update the users. Okay, what's new, right? I think like for example, when we're doing the publish for the LoopBack next modules, or like the connectors for modules, people get notified that, oh, there's a new version, right? But then like, oh, do I want to update to the new version, or like is there anything that, oh, there's compelling reasons that I have to do it? So maybe there's something that we can get to as well.
Yeah, I guess that's supposed to be done with the blog posts, right? Also, the publishing of blog post workflow kind of also got left behind when we transitioned from IBM being hands-on to be more hands-off with it.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. Maybe we could just use Medium for that. Might be easier because a lot of projects also use Medium. I know there are people who also don't like Medium, so
yeah. So I heard different things. We do have a Medium, right? But then it's more like we are duplicating the content in strongloop.com, like the blog post in strongloop.com, so that we have more, we can reach more audience. So that's why we're doing both of them. Like I also heard people that like saying that it has a paywall, and so it's like not everyone wants to get there, and so but I don't know how it works. I thought like
I think co-publishing
ours is always free, right? And then so like would people, everyone can see it by default, or like there's some limit that they can see?
Yeah, I think that's something we can look into. And two more things I discussed with Yapa. It's mostly about community engagement. One of it was I think last month's maintenance call, I did throw in the suggestion of doing what's it called, like working groups. But then during this call, we actually refined it a bit further. His suggestion was to actually make it more generalized, and instead have it like a community call. Because right now we have maintainers call, it's only for the maintainers, but perhaps we also want to engage the community as well, so that they can also join a monthly call that they can have like a segment where they can present their own ideas, their own slide decks, their own demos also. It's something to do to engage the community. And also it's a great opportunity for us to talk more about specifically about like community help, right? Like, oh, how's the contributions, how's the Slack, like how many messages and whatnot. And we can put those statistics up also, which may be quite useful. So what do you think? I think Yapa was quite receptive to it because it's a great starting point. And I would like your opinion on this matter.
Yeah, I think it's good to have another community call, and the question would be like, if we have anyone joining as well, and because I know like there are different like people in different time zones, right? And
Yeah.
so it's always hard to find a good time for it. I think when we first do this maintainers call, we were thinking like I think we were debating whether it should be just for maintainers or for everyone, right? And so we can like I don't know if we want to do that. Like we could say, okay, we open this call to everyone, and if there are more people, if there's no one other than like the maintainers joining, then it's probably just a maintainers call. And if there are more people join, then that's good. And then so that we and if there are too many people joining and there are too many things that we need to cover but don't have the time, and that's a good problem to have, right? Maybe that's a good time to separate the two calls. So yeah,
I think we already fill up the time quite well for just the maintainers. It's actually even a subset of the maintainers. I think this part has been running for I think an hour and a half, so I think we have plenty of things to talk about each maintainers call already. So I think maybe it's a good idea to create a separate community call. I'm because it's my idea. Pretty much, I'm open to posting it. It doesn't need to have community members joining necessarily. It can also just be an update call. Like, okay, here's the progress. Here's the stats. I think that's still fine as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Because I think we did this.
Fine with me.
Yeah, I think Diana, you did this in early maintenance call where you had this slide deck that showed the statistics of like the pulse of the community, right? Yeah, so I think that's something we can do. I guess it's also something we have to run through the TSC as well to get a vote on it. I think it should be fine, hopefully. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, so that was that. Okay, so I only mentioned one thing, right? I said I was going to do two things. So that was there was the community call. Oh yeah, and the other thing was also another thing I discussed last month as an idea was doing like what some open source projects do is that they actually have their maintainers live stream every now and then them working on the project. I know Node-RED does this. So I think it may be a great way to engage the community, or if not engage, just show the community that we're working on something, and kind of humanize the project, right? Show that yes, we're working on the project, and yes, we're doing something to improve it. So it might help. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good too. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I think I saw Node-RED has it from time to time.
Yeah, I think it would be a good thing. Yapa also suggested doing like one of those scheduled live streams, like on YouTube. I think IBM developers YouTube channel does this like live stream coming on in 1 week time or something like that to inform everyone that there's going to be a live stream. So yeah, lots of ideas. I do hope to be able to execute them in due time. We hope we can go forward with them. But in the meantime, I will drop them as votes in the Slack channel.
Yeah, maybe we do it in a GitHub issue. It might be easier because things tends to get lost in Slack. And maybe we just pick 2 to 3. I don't know what's the right number. 2 to 3, and then for this year for next year to implement, and then so that we focus on those, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That'd be great. Any burning matters you'd like to discuss, Diana? I think I've been talking too much. I do apologize. Anything you must.
No, those are good suggestions actually. So so one question is, I didn't follow the last conversation for the MS SQL connectors. We're good to release a new. I remember. Yeah. I think the conclusion was we're good to release a new major version of it, because like I think at some point we probably need to do that, and then we need to maintain two versions of connectors anyway. So I think that's what we can do. I think the then the outstanding question is how we can, like, because for when we're creating a new one, I forgot what is the version, say currently is 5.x, and then say when we're creating a new major version, then the master branch will be the 6 dot something, and then there will be a new branch
Like 5.
for 5.x. So I don't know. I haven't done that for a long time, or maybe I haven't done it ever. I don't know if that's something is a manual thing that we have to create a branch, or there's something that is handled by the toolings. So that's something I probably need to ask Raymond as well.
Yeah, I was surprised when you mentioned about SLT release, because for the packages that I did make a release, I didn't actually use that tool. So I was like, I kind of assumed
I
that
see.
blocks were manually created for those.
I see. Okay, I don't know, because like when I joined the team, this is what I told to when we released, we used this, and then so that's why I keep using it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I should check out that repo for the SLT releases as well.
Okay. Yeah, something I probably need to double check with Raymond how to release a major version, or if you're comfortable with doing it, please feel free to do it.
I don't want to break Git. It's not fun when that happens.
Yeah.
Great thing about great thing about the Git stuff I've done thus far is that if anything happens on my local machine, I can just nuke and repo. If anything happens to the master branch, it's not going to be fun. I don't think. So,
Okay. So let me ask Raymond to
yeah.
make sure that like before we really do it, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, that'd be great. There are some issues that I've created on LoopBack over the years when I first started. I think I still remember my first issue on LoopBack. I think it was something about the GDPR blocks. There are some issues that I have not actually that created over time that I have not worked on. I think one of it was an auditor extension, so still security related, but I think the idea was that think of it like an ESLint, but for like analyzing to make sure you're compliant in some way. Like, well, we have an auditor that checks to make sure that you don't run a server that uses a insecure cipher suite for SSL, for example. Like, those are things we could potentially add, and there's just some ideas as well. I don't know. Should I just? I think those ones are rather simple to implement in a way, like the framework part of it. I think I'll open some issues on that. Not issues, some PRs. And I don't know. Should I just open some PRs on it? They can review it, and then we can hopefully add some security-oriented features to LoopBack. Because I think that's one of the main things that we could work on. One of the things that's lacking in the Node.js ecosystem is that we don't have security-oriented features in the frameworks, right? You don't have that in Nest.js. You don't have. I'm not saying it for any other reason other than it's popular. But yeah, it's generally something that's left out for other developers to implement themselves. So I think that's something we could work on, we can implement it, and then it can be a selling point. In addition to or whatever else we could do. A bigger idea that I had in mind was also to, I think LoopBack had this with LoopBack 3 when it was on the strong loop. It was LoopBack workspaces. The idea was that you had this GUI, which it seemed to have resembled the API designer for API Connect in terms of functionality. But I think it's no longer being maintained. I think maybe it's something we could plan in the long run, like so that developers don't have to keep staring at code and terminal. Instead, they could just manage it from a web browser. So I think that might be a good like long-term goal, perhaps, like an overreaching goal to try to implement that.
Yeah, I don't know what's the well. I thought LoopBack Workspace is for something else, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I thought LoopBack Workspace is more for if you. Maybe not. Well, maybe I shouldn't say anything. Yeah. So you're talking about the UI front end, so that like someone can create models and those things, right?
Yeah, I think the idea is to give it just a GUI, right? Because sometimes, yes, you're a developer, you can look at code, but sometimes it's fatiguing, and sometimes you want to show other people stuff, right? Sometimes you just need a simple interface to work with, and I think that might be helpful to users, right? I think the existence of commercial solutions kind of proves that it does have its market.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful to have like some kind of visual representation of how things work, right? And I think some time ago, Raymond created one for the runtime, like what are each of the elements are interact with each other. Like it might be good for like for the tooling time, like for the development time as well, like how what each of the model has, and then how is it related to the other ones, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. If Raymond has had some experience on that, I'm wondering if he might be on board on maybe working on this idea as well, because I might have some good experience on building these kind of things. Yeah. I think that one I should probably open an issue before I forget about it again.
Yeah, I think that there are lots of good ideas, and we just need to like sort of divide and conquer and see how we can make some progress out of those.
Yeah, well, because each issue is bigger. We always realize it's bigger than what it seems, so we start to deviate and focus on other issues that are simpler. Unfortunately, we don't really have a strategy to go back to the issue at some point, so it becomes like hope, cross fingers. Hopefully, we remember to go back to it at some point to work on it.
You have the ZenHub board for the LoopBack.
Yes, I have access to the ZenHub. It's I guess the problem now is that we don't have a full consensus on how we're going to use it. So like if people keep dragging things around across the Kanban, it becomes and then we don't have an alignment on that. It doesn't really be useful. Yeah, but I guess it's something we could discuss at some point. If like say like there are people who want to actively work on certain things, then it's something we can look into. If you have, I mean, I'm guessing you have had experience with ZenHub in a workflow or LoopBack, so maybe you can also provide some input on that as well, like what works best on open source model.
Sure. I can take a look. I need to take a look at the ones that you created, because I'm still using the one. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it will be helpful, like say in the sense that like I like there are ones that are new, nobody has looked at, and then there's something that is like someone has trying to triage or something like that, and so I think it would be good to sort of have that that kind of thing, and then like go back to what you were saying, that like for what's happening, like what's happening for this month, and then so we can just look at like what's the in progress column, that okay, these are the things that is happening, and then there might be like some more details to each of the issues, then we can grab some interesting information out of that too.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it would be great if we can do that. Yeah, I think that's all from me. I've exhausted my entire agenda. Anything else from your end?
No, I'm good. Yeah, thank you for putting together a great agenda. I saw that there are lots of good topics over there.
Yeah, I guess going a bit meta, we should probably have a proper document on the agenda so that we can refer back at some point. I don't know what's the best solution for that. Maybe a GitHub issue. I think that's how OpenJS Foundation does it.
I know for Node, Michael doesn't keep a agenda or like the minutes for the meeting. I don't know if we want to follow that, or we just keep it in the Slack was okay, and yeah.
What does he use?
I need to find out where's the GitHub issue. I think he put the meeting minutes in a GitHub repo that everyone can access. I can take it up again. Let me write it down.
Yeah, I think because leaving it in the Slack is gonna get lost once it gets past the 10,000 message count, right?
Yeah, and in general, it's easier to get lost in Slack as well. So
okay.
I'll once I find out, I can share it.
Yeah, and I think I think one of the other broader ideas I have in mind is that again, it's integration with other REST frameworks. So can we somehow make it back? Can we have like an LB3 app router for like Nest.js? So you can plug in Nest.js to it, or you can plug in Sales.js, or you can plug in whatever other framework on top of LoopBack for. Maybe we could. It's not something I'm working on actively because it's quite a daunting task in its own way, but I think it might be an interesting idea to look at, because I think it does solve the problem of integration, because everyone has like this diverse and fragmented toolbox of software that they're using. Sometimes you want to reconcile, right? So I think it might be something we could dabble in at some point as well.
Okay, cool. I guess I have a few to-dos myself, and then and we'll keep in touch next time. So our next meeting will be in the new year, right?
Yeah, it will also be check. It'll be January 11th. It'll be Tuesday. Oh, is it January 11th? We do it on second week of every month, right?
Okay.
Wait, second week of every month. So I think it will be 11, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Cool.
So is that fine?
So
Is
if I
okay, should be fine, right?
I don't know. I like there's some changes on my side, and so I didn't I and the this is not really a good time, and then but then like I don't have a good proposal for a proposed time to ask others, so maybe just keep it this way, and then if I is yeah, so you might find I will try to attend.
Okay, we can look into that.
Cool. So yeah, so if I don't see you again, then yeah, have a good Christmas break.
Yeah. All right. Have a good Christmas break as well. Okay, so I guess we can end the call here, right?
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Thanks,
Right.
Rifa.
Thank you,
Okay.
Diana. Thank you, yeah, for
Bye.
joining this call. Have a
Okay,
great day.
thanks. Okay, bye.
Bye.